You've tuned into another edition of The Break Room, a weekly conversation about how the City of St. Augustine works from those who do the work every day. Hosted by the City of St. Augustine's Communications Director, Melissa Wissel, The Break Room offers a closer look at the different city departments and provides updates on current and upcoming projects and events. And now, your host, Melissa Wissel.
Welcome to The Break Room. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Melissa Wissel, Communications Director for the City of St. Augustine. In studio this week, we are talking about fire prevention and fire safety with our Fire Safety Inspector, Abby Pedigo. Abby, welcome back to The Break Room.
Thanks for having me.
We've had you back several times. We're glad to have you back again and talking about this year's theme of fire safety. We have a theme every October.
We do. We have a theme every October. This year's theme is Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety. And that's meant to educate everybody about the different sounds that specifically smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms make and what actions to take when people actually hear those alarms. This theme was actually decided upon after so many teachers over the last year of the pandemic described hearing chirping smoke alarms in the backgrounds of their students' virtual learning and their Zoom meetings.
Wow.
And sometimes that chirping continued for days with no one actually taking action to correct it. So we want to make sure people are familiar with the different sounds that their alarms make and they know what actions to take to keep their families and themselves safe.
That is, I got to say, that is really a fascinating way to come up with an education program.
Yes.
Other than a real live hands-on, what's all this chirping?
Firsthand, they see the problems and want to address those.
I honestly can't imagine, I don't know whether it's age or having been educated, that folks wouldn't know what that is. But clearly folks don't, or they don't know how to, my thing is to follow the sound. Which one is it coming from?
Exactly. I don't know if people just ignore it or if they don't take it seriously or they just don't know what it is. Right. But that became one of the sounds of fire safety for this year's Fire Prevention Week.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the chirping.
Yeah. So chirping is an indication of an alarm either having a low battery or an alarm needing to be replaced entirely, the entire alarm. So that goes for smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms. Most alarms nowadays that you buy have a 10-year battery life, and the battery will last that long. But at 10 years, no matter what type of alarm you have, that alarm does need to be replaced. So if you've changed the battery and the alarm is still chirping, that's a good indication that that whole alarm needs to be replaced. And if you're not sure how old the alarm is, it's probably best to just go on and replace it.
Is there an expiration in the alarm itself?
There is, yeah. Okay. If you unscrew the alarm from its little mounting bracket on the ceiling, you'll see a date of manufacture, and you know that 10 years from that is when it needs to be replaced. Okay. And if you don't see that date of manufacture, sometimes the alarms will start to get kind of yellow and discolored, and that's usually a good indication that they're aging, yes, and that you should probably replace them. Okay.
And carbon monoxide indicators, I've never heard one of those. Is it different? A different tone, a different type of chirp?
So it's the same tone, but it's going to be 4 beeps of an alarm versus the 3 beeps that you'd hear from a smoke alarm. So I actually have a smoke alarm here. Okay. I'll let you hear what that sounds like. So that chirp is the sound of a low battery. And then it'll sound 3 times. There will be a pause and then 3 more beeps. And that's the indication that your smoke alarm actually detects smoke. That's when you know either you need to turn off the oven and air it out because the garlic bread's been in too long and it's burning, or you have smoke in the house and you need to get out. A carbon monoxide alarm is going to be the same beeping, but it's going to be four beeps with a pause and 4 beeps. And I know a lot of people are familiar with smoke and smoke alarms, but a lot of people are not familiar with carbon monoxide and carbon monoxide alarms. So for anybody who isn't, carbon monoxide is an odorless, colorless gas that's produced by the incomplete burning of fuels such as wood, gas, propane, charcoal. And if somebody's exposed to it, it displaces oxygen in their body. So with early exposure, they may experience headaches, dizziness, nausea, vomiting. With longer exposure, they can go unconscious, and ultimately they can die from carbon monoxide poisoning. So it's very important for homes that are at risk of having carbon monoxide to have those alarms and detectors. And typically those are homes with gas appliances, homes with a fireplace that's actually being used, and homes with attached garages where cars are actually parked and where they're coming and going. So cars that are running too long, the exhaust from those cars in an unventilated area can cause carbon monoxide in the home. So
can carbon monoxide poisoning be something that's over a period of time, or does it have to be in a contained, like if I'm in my home and there's carbon monoxide and
it's usually more of an acute thing, but if carbon monoxide is in your home and you leave and you come back and it's been accumulating in your home all day, then it can have a large effect. But you would need to be exposed for it for a long enough period of time. So you would start feeling that nausea, dizziness, vomiting, and then it would start to have a longer term effect on you, but over the course of usually a couple of hours. But anybody who has those factors in their home, if they have gas appliances or an attached garage where they park their cars, it's very important to have carbon monoxide alarms in those homes, and they need to be in the areas of your gas appliances, outside of any sleeping areas, and on every level of the home. And they work just like smoke alarms. When they detect the CO or carbon monoxide, they'll alert you by beeping 4 times. And you
don't want to mess around with it. Just get out.
You don't,
Smoke alarm or CO2, just get out of the house.
So with smoke, typically people can see the smoke, they smell it, they know they burnt the garlic bread. It's something discernible. But with CO, because it's odorless and colorless, there's nothing to see or smell, and people are more likely to ignore that type of alarm or take it seriously because there's nothing to see. So, but CO can really impair your judgment and affect your mental status, and it's very important with smoke or carbon monoxide alarms going off that when they start going off, you get out of the house. Right.
And always good to have a plan. It all comes back to having the plan.
Exactly. So we always say, if that alarm's going off, get yourself and your family members out of the house, call 911 from your family's meeting spot. And if your family doesn't have a meeting spot, that needs to be your next step before an emergency ever happens. Have a home escape plan with your family where you acknowledge all of your exits, doors, and windows, and you practice using those various exits to get out of the house. So designate a meeting spot somewhere in the front yard that doesn't move, somewhere like a mailbox or a big tree where the fire department can see you. And practice getting out to that spot, and then remind your kids and your family members never to go back inside the house once you're out there until the fire department tells you it's safe.
And maybe it's a good time over the weekend to have a little fire drill with your family.
Exactly. Have a fire drill. And, we talk about windows. It's so common for people in Florida not to want to open their windows when it's 100 degrees outside. But now that it's getting a little cooler, it's so important to be familiar with how the windows in your home open. Know that everyone in the house is able to open the windows, and know that you actually have operable windows in your home. So many of the older homes in this town have windows that are painted shut or are damaged, and they're inoperable. But if you have a fire that's blocking a door or a primary egress, you are going to be relying on that window to get yourself out.
And
so
the
you need to be familiar.
Windows can be funny anyway. And if you're panicking.
Exactly. And they all have different nuances. Some of them you have to unscrew
the crank.
The old ones. And some of them are sticky. So be familiar with them and make sure everybody in the house is familiar with them to get out if they need to.
We want everybody to be safe.
Exactly.
So one other thing about smoke alarms and the detection and the sounds of smoke. We have a hearing impaired community, and we're not the only ones. Certainly nationwide, there are plenty of folks that are hearing impaired. How can we help our hearing impaired community?
Absolutely. So there are smoke alarms and alert devices that can alert people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Some use strobe lights that flash when the smoke alarm is activated. Another type is a bed or pillow shaker that can be installed. Yeah, it's like a pad that goes under the mattress or the pillow. It's connected to the smoke alarm, and if the smoke alarm is activated, it'll make that pad vibrate basically to wake up the person. So those can be installed for not just the deaf community, but anybody who's hard of hearing.
Sure.
We don't carry the bed shaker alarms at our department, but we do have the strobe alarms, and we will provide and install those for free for anyone who's deaf or hard of hearing who needs them. And the elderly population is a great example of somebody or people who could use those. or anybody who wears hearing aids, most people who wear hearing aids do not wear them to bed.
Right.
And
True.
So that visual smoke alarm could be a really good,
Right.
really
and the pad or the
beneficial for
pillow.
them in their home. Yes, or the bed shaker.
I've never heard of that, quite
Yes.
honestly, until today. So that's really cool.
Yes.
If you're just now tuning in, you're listening to The Break Room. I'm Melissa Whistle, Communications Director for the City of St. Augustine. And today in studio, we're talking with Fire Safety Inspector Abby Pedigo about this year's fire awareness theme of the sounds of fire safety.
Yes, exactly. Learning the sounds of fire
Learning the
safety, this year's Fire Prevention Week theme.
And I love I think it's fantastic how they made the decision to do that this year. If you weren't listening at the beginning of the broadcast, it came out of all of the Zoom meetings and homeschooling and the school
The virtual learning.
virtual learning.
Yeah, the teachers were hearing chirping smoke alarms in the backgrounds of their students.
So if
Zoom
you're hearing
meetings.
the chirping, follow the chirp, check the battery, check the detector.
Yeah, so NFPA is the sponsor for Fire Prevention Week, each theme, the National Fire Protection Association, and they're the ones who developed the theme. And so they say, if you hear a beep, get on your feet. Like, get moving, get out of the house because your smoke alarms detect smoke. And if you hear a chirp, make a change, whether that's changing the batteries of your alarm or replacing the whole alarm because it's old.
I like it.
Yeah.
And another good time, we could talk about it right now real quick, is daylight savings. That's often something you all tell us too, is that's a good time of year to check.
Yes, we always say replace your smoke alarm batteries at daylight savings. And nowadays, I kind of mentioned the 10-year battery life smoke alarms. There are really great options for 10-year battery life smoke alarms. And if you do get those, you shouldn't need to change your batteries twice a year like we've always had to in the past. It's still a good time to check your batteries and make sure they're working like they should be. But those lithium batteries are really efficient. And for the most part, they do last a full 10 years.
Just push that button and make it chirp.
Yes. Yep.
Make sure
Make it chirp, and that's a good time to practice your home escape plan with your family. Make sure your window's open. Make sure everybody's familiar with the meeting spot, and that you're just going over some of those fire safety themes that we always talk about.
And speaking of, we all do our own home inspections, and we keep an eye on things. You're also in charge of inspections around town.
Yes.
Give us a quick update on how things are going, maybe short-term rentals.
Yes.
That was kind of a big topic
I inspect
last year.
businesses around town. I inspect the short-term rentals now that the recent ordinance passed last year. And it's going well. I mean, it was a little learning curve for us. We had never inspected homes before, residential homes. So we had some learning to do, as did the citizens, to determine what they needed to do to make their homes safe for bringing in people who weren't familiar with their homes. Just like we regulate the hotels and the bed and breakfasts where people are sleeping, we have to regulate these homes where people are going to be sleeping, homes that they're not familiar with.
And how did the year go? Were you able to? I know in the very beginning, you guys were concerned that there was just such an onslaught of the registrations.
Right.
Are we on track?
We are on track. Yeah, it went well. We were able to just spread them out throughout the year, and we are on track. 99% of the short-term rentals have been inspected to date. We get new ones in every single day, so we're constantly trying to catch up. But we're caught up right now, and they just had to renew their registration for the new fiscal year. So now we're working on re-inspecting the ones from last year that we did at this time last year.
So probably it'll go a little quicker.
Yes, it should go a little quicker. And for anybody listening who is a short-term rental owner, while you do have to register with the city by September 30th of every year, you do not have to get your fire safety inspection by September 30th of each year. If you've paid your fee, your registration is in with the city, I will inspect you around the same time each year that I did your first initial inspection. So I'll contact you during that time and get your inspection scheduled, because otherwise there's no way I could do all 600 short-term rental inspections in the month of October. So I'm spreading those out throughout the year, and I have a list. I know when you're due, so I will contact people at that time.
So once you're registered, you're good. You just want to make sure everyone's registered with the city, yes. Great.
And as long as you get a fire safety inspection during the course of the year, it doesn't have to be right now.
You're good.
Yes.
Well, you're keeping very busy. Thank you for keeping our community safe. And thanks for coming by and talking to us again about our fire safety.
Thanks for having me.
If you missed part of this broadcast and want to go back and listen, you can hear us online on the website at citysainogradio.com. We want to keep you informed about what's happening in and around the city, and most importantly, that you hear it here from the people doing the work and making it happen every day. In order to stay connected, you need to be connected. You can like and follow the fire department on Facebook and Instagram at City St. Aug Fire. You can also find out about the fire inspections on the fire department's website at citysainaugfire.com, and there's a button right there on the homepage, fire inspections as well. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.
You've been listening to The Break Room, a weekly program addressing projects and programs offered by the City of St. Augustine. Join us each week as the city's communications director, Melissa Whistle, has in-depth conversations with the people who make our town work to meet the needs of our community. The Break Room is produced by communications specialist for the City of St. Augustine, Cindy Walker. See you at this time next week for another edition of The Break Room.